So if you've been looking to lose body fat and get leaner, you've probably heard of this idea of fat-burning foods. Now, there are certain foods that if you eat that food, it's going to lead you to burn more body fat and get leaner. Typically, these lists include foods like spinach, kale, broccoli, maybe some chicken breast, maybe some turkey, maybe some salmon, avocado, nuts, berries, things like this. And these lists are all over the web. They're all over these different types of forums, and people are claiming basically that if you eat a lot more of these foods, that there are going to be particular foods that are going to make you leaner. And I want to focus on that. I want to break this down for you. I want to really share with you how this actually works and what you need to know in order to actually optimize your own nutrition, understand what to eat more of, what to eat less of, and not fall for some of this mainstream BS like typically all these mainstream things are actually leading to some kind of quick fix or some kind of overnight thing that's going to change everything. And I'll really bring it back to what really works. And also, I mean, you got to know that you got to put in the work and you have to be consistent and persistent if you actually want to get lean and stay lean. And by the way, if you're new around here, if it's your first time on this channel, consider subscribing below if you'd like to learn more about fitness, nutrition, how to get lean, how to make this a lifestyle. Also, hit that bell icon to enable notifications for future videos. And now let's dive into it. So the first thing I'm going to dive into when it comes to these fat-burning foods is really the mechanism, how these foods work and how they actually get you leaner, because there is some truth to that, and that's why it actually spread so far, and that's why so many people believe it. Because a lot of these foods lists, if you look at it, they include healthy food. They include foods that actually make you full. They include foods that are higher protein. They include foods that are healthy for you, lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, lean proteins, things like that, or healthier fats. And so if your diet is based on these foods, you will naturally eat less and you will naturally lose weight. Of course, I mean, these foods will be much more fuller and much healthier compared to eating a junk food diet or a diet full of processed food in general. If you focus on these quote-unquote fat-burning foods, you really are optimizing your diet for health and fat loss. But the mechanism is not fat burning, and there's actually a big difference between fat burning and actually using fat for fuel compared to fat loss. This is what most people don't really get into, and of course the mainstream fitness doesn't want to actually get into this, is that you could actually be in quote-unquote fat burning mode. If you go low carb, if you go keto, your body is burning fat for energy, but it might not be losing fat. It might not be reducing body fat. If the energy balance is basically the same between input and output, you're not going to lose any body fat. Even though you're actually using more fat for fuel, you're not losing any body fat. Because in order for your body to lose body fat, it actually has to be in a deficit of calories in order then to start using body fat, which that's the primary purpose of body fat, is actually to provide that energy for you. When you don't get enough food, then it has to mobilize that body fat that's stored. And unless there's a deficit, it's not going to mobilize the body fat. So whether you eat a lot of fat-burning foods or whether you're in a fat-burning mode, you're not going to lose any body fat unless you're in a caloric deficit. Now, that brings me back to these foods. These foods naturally make you enter a caloric deficit because they're so filling. Now, of course, someone looking at this might be, well, these fat-burning foods, this is good for me, so I'm just going to eat a ton of these foods. I mean, you can still be gaining weight or not losing any weight if you eat a ton of these fat-burning foods. Because again, if you're not in a caloric deficit, you're not going to be losing body fat. Now, the second reason these fat-burning foods are effective at getting us to be in a caloric deficit and lose body fat, other than the fact that they're filling, is also that they're less addictive. And if you compare something like spinach, broccoli, or kale to ice cream and pizza, it becomes really obvious. And you're not gonna wake up in the middle of the night and get dressed up and go in your car and go drive and get some broccoli. I mean, you don't have those types of cravings. But with ice cream, that is a reality. That does happen. So really, when we're looking at different types of foods, we have to understand that there are different properties that make a certain food more addictive and more motivating for us to go out of our way to get that food. And that's the case with all these super tasty, palatable foods that have a high concentration of fat and sugar and salt, such as ice cream, pizza, cookies, things like that. They're really difficult to resist. So our brains are wired to want to eat more of that food. We like that concentration, that calorie density, and we have to be able to fight that. And the only way to actually be able to deal with that is not to have those foods all around us at all times. And that's where these quote-unquote fat-burning foods come into play, because if your diet is primarily made out of these foods, you're not going to be as motivated to overeat. It just makes the whole process a lot easier, other than you're not hungry, but you're also less motivated to eat when you're not hungry, because these foods are motivating us to eat even when you're not hungry. You always have room for an extra little bit of ice cream or a little bit of a chocolate brownie, like things like this. sneak their way into the diet even when we're not hungry anymore. So this is really an issue, and this is something you've got to understand as well, is that you have to manage your food environment a little bit more, because I know for myself, if I'm surrounded with cookies, cakes, chocolate, and things like that, I'm gonna overeat. And it happens. When I'm in holidays, I go to my parents' place and there's all these tasty foods around, like I do end up eating more compared to when I'm back in my place where everything is so well organized, where I don't have these foods readily available, and there's a ton of friction for me to get access to these types of foods. And the foods that I do have access to are these fat-burning foods, if you want to call them like that, but they're really healthy, unprocessed foods that keep me on track. And that's what the majority of my diet is made out of, are these healthy, whole, unprocessed foods, lots of lean protein, lots of vegetables, fruits, and things like this. And that's really what you have to do as well if you want to make this a lifestyle, and if you want to make it easier for you to stay lean. And you cannot just do this by having all these amazing, tasty, addictive foods around you. So keep this in mind when you're designing your nutrition plan and when you're looking at your numbers. It's not all about calories, it's not all about that, but it's also about the composition and the quality of the diet itself that either makes you easier to stick with or makes it really, really difficult to stick with. And what I'm gonna do here at the end, actually, I'm gonna leave a video that's gonna help you get to 10% body fat. If you're interested in that, definitely check out that video. Other than that, if you want to work with me as your mentor, as your coach, to help you optimize your process, there's a link in the description below. You can find more details about that, and I will see you in that next video.